Welcome to the OC Politics Show, keeping politics bipartisan, local, and on the level.
Good morning, everybody. And yeah, I kind of zoned out there for a second, but I really dig that piece of music, though, and I appreciate everything. So I'm excited about this morning's show. We are going to be discussing toll roads, right? And you know, if you're from back east, I guess we're always kind of used to toll roads, but obviously, in California, we have the freeway system and toll roads, and sometimes there's some confusion about what is what and how these things get paid for and all this kind of stuff. But there has some controversy about it, and so we're going to get into that today. But first, let's do the headlines. So, man, there's a lot of stuff coming on. So Orange County Republicans, I'm sorry, wrong headline. The county toll road traffic drops, transportation officials cap rate increases, and account fees for the 91 drive express lane drivers. Joe.
On, off, on again. Put on your mask, and the OC and the state says the Newsom.
Yeah, and well, it's a San Clemente heavy day. San Clemente City Council urges residents to send letters in support of AB 1373.
And California to send every voter a mail-in ballot for November.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure. So I want to bring on our guest really quick, and it's Kathleen Ward, and she is from San Clemente, city council member. Great background and an awesome bio on giving public service. Kathy, welcome to the OC Politics Show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh man, so let's talk toll roads. Give me a quick update on what's going on with the toll roads and where we're going from here.
Well, I'm on the Foothill Eastern Toll Road Board. I'm a director on that board. And for the last 4 or 5 years, since 2015, they've been trying to extend the 241 south past Oso Parkway. And the board just collectively, all the cities on the board in March, decided not to advance the 241 toll road. And we decided that the only thing that needed to be done for South Orange County was an extension of an arterial called Los Patrones Parkway. And that is untolled. And that was the decision that we came out with. OCTA, who is our planning authority in Orange County, agreed to that decision. The Board of Supervisors agreed to it, and so did Caltrans. So we all voted for it in March. And now there is a bill put out by our Senator Pat Bates, who represents many cities in Orange County and in San Diego County. And her bill just codifies and memorializes that decision that the 241 stops at Oso Parkway and that there is no further extension of it at this time. That's where we are in a nutshell.
Nice. Now, I know that some of the controversy by moving the toll road down to the 5 freeway, which was one of the plans that I remember reading, and I know that was going to mess with some of the coastal areas, surfing specifically. I talked to some of the people in the Surf Riders Foundation. I know that was what their concern was, and as a guy who likes to hit the surf every once in a while, I really appreciate that. So there's that. But now, this is where I'm kind of confused. This is kind of where I need. So why is Costa Mesa upset with this? I don't understand what their concern is.
I'm not sure why Costa Mesa is. This is the Foothill Eastern extension. There's 2 corridors, right. San Joaquin Hills, which is the 73, and then the 241. We're talking about the 241 here. Right. Costa Mesa is not on the 241.
Right.
Their city is only on the 73. That's the toll corridor they should be concerned about. The 241 South doesn't affect them, and these changes doesn't affect them or the rest of Orange County at all.
So, Joe, I know you had a couple of questions regarding this as well.
Well, from what I've read, Costa Mesa makes the argument that it'll be a dumping ground for traffic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not understanding that, because this extension, the 241 South, they studied it back in the early 2000s. They studied again. It didn't provide relief. In fact, on the 5, it actually added traffic to the different points, but that was down here, down south.
Right.
Costa Mesa right now is getting an widening of the 405 all the way from Mission Viejo, Avery Parkway to the 710. So they're getting that from OCTA. So I'm not quite sure why they're upset about this. I'm not sure. They're a member of the San Joaquin Hills Board. I don't know, maybe they're making an emotional response because this is a new thing. We just all voted on it in March. So I'm not sure why they're upset.
So now, maybe it's just I don't know, and I'm guessing, and I'm completely guessing here. Maybe it's just because of the the 1373. Does that preclude any additional roadway? I mean, what exactly does the 1373 do?
1373 only codifies and says that the toll road itself stops at Oso. And what that does is it makes it so they can't keep every decade coming through San Clemente trying to find something that narrowly goes past a school or between houses in order to do an alignment. It was interesting because we all came to this decision in March. Their studies did not show any benefit of doing this alignment. San Clemente also, we took the time and the expense to do our own traffic analysis. We worked with the numbers from OCTA, and it showed there's no benefit. So this long planned toll road extension didn't really have any benefit, and TCA overstated what the numbers would be in the future. Well, we're in the future now because that toll road never got built. And now we know the numbers and they're not there. Right. So the other thing that's changed is they aren't going through and doing the green alignment anymore, which went through Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton no longer has to agree to let the toll road go through there. And actually, I've seen paperwork where they're very protective of their boundaries and their mission, and they are not going to give up 1 inch of that base. That base is there forever. So the green alignment cannot go through anymore. And that means they're going to try, San Clemente butts up to Camp Pendleton. That means they're going to keep trying to go through us or go through San Juan Capistrano. We all have protected open space by a voter initiative. And we want to be able to sleep at night and not have every decade this go on. And what happened with their last planning is they were getting on the freeway. You mentioned that. That's not their jurisdiction to be on the freeway. Their jurisdiction is to build 2 toll corridors that are parallel to state highways. So when they were trying to do that, they kind of got out of their lane, and legislatively, they were planning things that they weren't supposed to do. So this has all been settled now, and this is actually how highways get modified by legislative changes. And so we really appreciate Senator Bates getting in here and trying to fix this long-standing problem of a toll road that isn't needed that they keep trying to put in. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
And I don't know if you have the answer to this, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but a question came in my head and I want to ask it. So now we have like certain areas like on the 91 where they create basically the carpooling turns into toll road, right? Right. It's various different prices. I've never really used that piece of the toll road. It just confuses the crap out of me. Why are we talking about? Because I've heard rumors and stuff that they're talking about doing that in other portions of different freeways. I guess it's traffic easement or whatever, or abatement. But like, what does that mean? Like, why do we have a toll? We already paid. My point is, as a taxpayer, we already paid for that road, right? And now we just put some delineators up and charge for it. What's the purpose of that, and why are we allowing this to occur?
That is called congestion pricing in order to manage traffic. And they're trying to force you to use the freeway at different times so that the traffic all alleviates, because we only have so much right of way. And it's interesting because we talk about toll roads like we can just jam them through wherever, but our roads pretty much are our existing roads, and we have to figure out how to manage them. So it's called congestion pricing, and it's something that the state Caltrans has come up with. If you look at it, they are adding congestion lane, managed lanes and HOV toll road lanes in La Jolla right now. That's the one corridor that the Caltrans is actually really looking at. OCTA is looking at the extension of the 405 expansion. That's going to have managed lanes. And what happens is the state tries to do HOV lanes first, which is 3 or more people in a car. And if that doesn't work, then they go to congestion management pricing. And here's the thing, though, with COVID, it might change some industries and some businesses, and it might make them change pretty fast in order to adjust to what's going on. We may see less freeway or less traffic on our freeways very soon. We're seeing it now, but it might actually be more of a permanent thing. And those congestion lanes may not show up.
Right.
Yeah. Great for you. It may not show up because people are going to be working from home. All the platforms now we're talking, I'm at home. So that might be our future. And COVID is actually going to make that happen faster. So there was a big, with Costa Mesa, since you spoke about it earlier, there was a big controversy about the widening there of the 405. They did not want toll lanes. They wanted HOV lanes. Our city of San Clemente, we actually supported them in that. But Caltrans was the ultimate arbiter and said that will be toll lanes through there. But if there's no traffic on it, they'll go back to HOV lanes.
Right. That's where I get all confused about, like, what's going on. It's funny. I'm now working from home, which is I'm like super stoked about it. I don't have to travel anywhere if I don't want to. And it's funny because my friend asked me to come down to his office one day, and I'm like, I have to get out of my house, go on the road, drive 25 minutes. This sucks. So working from home has been a blessing. So I understand that. Yeah. Speaking of that, and I know we're getting a little off topic here with working from home. I just want your opinion on this as a city council member and how you can use things. So, there's this guy who I know. He owns an insurance company, very big piece of real estate that he rents, and he was telling me it's like $19,000 a month is kind of what he's paying for. And he goes, since COVID came in, he's going to reevaluate that when his lease comes back up to see about shrinking his footprint. So do you have any ideas, or have you guys been talking about planning for what do you do with the commercial and not commercial real estate, but the business real estate, if you will, not like retail real estate, but like office buildings and whatnot, if those become empty, because those could quickly become blighted if they're empty, right?
They could. Now we have a couple different business parks. They have a lot of, they're like an HOA, so they're going to have to keep those up. Mm-hmm. And then we'll certainly make sure that policing wise, we'll watch those, but we don't want to see that happen. So I'm hoping that businesses are figuring out how to change this. We hear right now, our real estate has been, commercial real estate has been really hopping, where people have wanted in. I think there's always going to be need for warehouse space.
Sure.
So maybe some of this office space is going to turn into warehouse space. I think it'll still be occupied and vibrant, I hope. But our city, we're going to work with them as much as we can. I've heard of the businesses are starting to renegotiate their leases with the landlords. And I think they're getting, their leases are coming down. So I think that's good for everyone while we're going through this. If the landlords can do that, and maybe some businesses will have to lease out some of their space and help some people. We have, in San Clemente, we have a lot of entrepreneurs. We are, surf city, by Trestles, San Onofre, great surfing. And we have an action sports industry here in town that's very active. And they keep, they're keeping all of our warehouses pretty full, and they're international, and we're happy to have them here. And I'm hoping that they will be fine, because I think surfing and recreation is gonna stay for our city.
Awesome.
So,
all right, Kathy, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna let you go, and I just want to let everybody know, hey, if you haven't been down to San Clemente in a while, it's a beautiful city to go down to. The pier is awesome. The food is delicious down there. Lots of great restaurants and places to go. And the sunset, you can't see a more beautiful sunset than you can from the San Clemente.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You for your time.
No problem.
Thanks, Kathy.
Joe,
Yo,
what do you think?
makes a lot of sense. But why is Costa Mesa still mad? we gotta get Costa Mesa down here just for
Oh my gosh,
giggles for
sometimes people just like being mad to be mad, though, right?
Well, I can understand how the traffic flow, if it's not necessary, then it's not necessary to expand. But these people planned this a long time ago, and now all of a sudden they're getting their future plans. But everybody's in agreement.
Right.
I'm dumbfounded.
All right, it's time for the political whip around. All right, so the Orange County Republicans are hosting a virtual Take Back the House rally. So I guess the rally with President Trump the other day was kind of a bust because no one wanted to come out and get the COVID. And it looks like the Orange County Republicans are doing a virtual rally here coming up to be held by Zoom. And it looks like there's 4 local Republicans looking to target the House seats that they lost in the last election. Now, here's a question for you, Joe. As the political monster that you are, the guy who understands tactics and whatnot, the Republicans in the last election got caught flat-footed by not understanding the mail-in ballot and ballot harvesting that the Democrats did. And so much so that the Republicans thought that the Democrats broke the rules, but they didn't. But they did ballot harvesting. So I think you're going to see a different ground game coming out of the Republican establishment. Can the Democrats hold this next election?
There's just so much going on as far as our current president and some of the behaviors that have kind of dictated people kind of losing faith in the political system, and maybe they might go towards Biden because it's kind of a safe bet, or maybe they might go to a third party like a Joe Jorgensen, where they feel like their voices are being heard. But it just seems like, oh my gosh, every time we talk about voting and the process of voting, it always comes down to the Republicans always kind of attacking the process. You have Trump saying that there's a lot of squirrely things going on. So we're going to talk about voting later on, but I just think that it don't look good for the Republicans coming up with all this stuff going down, the economy, the pandemic, the way it's been handled. A lot of stuff has been going on.
I'm going to mash my other one, and then I'll give you can take your 2 political whip arounds one because it's kind of related with the election campaigns heating up, which is kind of what we're talking about here. Now, what I find interesting, though, is that, like I was saying, the Republicans have a new ground game coming up, and I think that I think the Orange County Republicans are not taking it for granted right now, like they did before. But here's some interesting polls, right? Here's some interesting polls. Young Kim, who, if she would win, would be my congressperson, is actually beating Gil Cisneros, who is the current congressperson for the 39th district. And it looks like, I mean, she beat him in the I hate calling it a primary, whatever the heck election that we do prior to this, right? So she actually is leading, and she's still leading in the polls. What does that say? And that's interesting too, because some of the 39th goes into LA County. So it's not just an Orange County district. What does that say? Again, see, I think, and let me rephrase this a little bit. I think when you take a look at congressional elections, which is very interesting, you do polls and people go, Congress sucks. I hate Congress. They're terrible, 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 terrible. But when it comes down to their congressperson, normally they support their congressperson, right? And again, it talks about the idea of the local politics, right? We might hate the congressperson from, I don't know, Massachusetts. I don't know any of them over there, so I'm not trying to pick at anybody, right? Say, oh, the guys from Massachusetts, they're terrible, but my congressperson is great. Would we see, even if the national elections go against Trump, could we see the congressional elections still flip back to red in Orange County?
It's a district by district kind of story. Look at that race between Kim and Cisneros. Cisneros is kind of viewed as a lifelong political politician. That's not good these days. And then Kim year after year has kind of pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and worked really hard to get coverage in that district. So, maybe the hardest person that worked the hardest gets to win, but Orange County is still now a blue county. And if we lose one, I don't think a lot of Democrats are going to lose a lot of sleep until 2 years later.
Absolutely. All right, Joe. So you want to talk about face masks?
I want to talk about face masks because I challenge everybody to Google the Orange County Supervisors June 11th meeting where they had hundreds of people there to protest wearing a mask, and it got pretty interesting. It got so crazy that this whole thing has gotten so crazy that our public health official, Dr. Nicole Quick, she resigned because she was getting death threats and verbal attacks over her mandatory mask rules. So what's happening now is Governor Newsom has now done a statewide mandatory mask rules, and which means these all overrule county directives. So how this has affected the county, let me give you a few points of view here. County Board of Supervisor Chairwoman Michelle Steele said she was surprised by the governor's statewide mandate, noting that Orange County's infection rate and hospitalization numbers are below the state thresholds for reopening. Steele had previously advocated for the county health official to loosen the requirement that all residents wear masks when in public. A mandatory order was way too strong, she said. I think our residents of Orange County are very smart. Check this out. I think if they feel sick, they're going to wear a mask. It doesn't have to be mandatory. And I think we tend to forget the science. This reminds me of climate change. You got the climate deniers and the climate people that are pro-climate. You got the mask and the anti-mask, and they use science kind of to prove their mark. And the people that we pay the big money for, the Fauci's out there, they're telling us to wear the mask, constantly, every chance we get. And then come to Orange County and it's like, it's not so much. It's not so important. Now, to get even some law enforcement of this, it's not going to be easy because Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes indicated that he believes it's not the responsibility of law enforcement to ensure compliance with the state mask order. Instead, it's everyone's responsibility to wear a face covering and follow other recommendation safeguards in order to stop the spread of COVID-19. He said, I expect that Orange County residents will continue to use common sense approaches for the benefit of their own health as well as the collective health of other residents. And he said in a statement, we must do with what is necessary to stop the transmission of COVID-19, enable us to further open remaining businesses, places of recreation, and the hospitality. So I just find this all very interesting that, the whole state is going to put on the mask, but Orange County is still going to find a way to not wear the mask. And it's just, I needed to protect myself, and I needed to protect other people. And that's been very clear from the professional science people that have been talking about this for over three months. So as a do-gooder of the public airways, I have a list here of high-risk situations where coverings are mandatory. So we're very clear about this. Inside of or in line to enter any indoor public space. Obtaining services from healthcare sector, including the hospital, a pharmacy, a medical clinic, laboratory, physicians, dental office, veterinary clinics, blood banks, waiting for or riding on public transportation, engaged in work wherever the workplace or performing off-site when interacting in person with any other member of the public, working in any space visited by members of the public, regardless of whomever from the public is present at the time. Whew, mouthful. Working in a space where food is prepared or prepared for sale or distribution to others, working in or walking through common areas such as hallways, stairways, elevators, and parking facilities. Now I can go on and on. Also, ride share, you should be wearing it when you're doing a ride share, when you're outside, even to keep your 6 feet apart. So there's also a couple of exemptions here. And it seems like the only people that really get the benefit is children 2 years or younger, because for some reason they don't have to wear one.
Probably because they won't tolerate it, you know?
Yeah. Persons with medical or mental health or developmental disabilities, persons with hearing who are hearing impaired. So if you want a list, go to the officer of the governor. He has a list of all restrictions and exemptions for wearing a mask. So wear your mask, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you a personal story. It's kind of funny. I took my son out diving in Laguna Beach on a Thursday, and after
But
we're
I hope
done,
you wear a mask. I'm worried.
Underwater.
I hope you did, please.
Everybody wears masks underwater. Scuba diving has to be the most safest sport to do right now, because you kind of social distance automatically, and you're breathing out your own tank. So, and you have like that water barrier that keeps you from getting sick. But anyway, we got done and we went over to a burger joint, and I was walking in and I forgot my mask. And as I was walking up, they're like, "Hey, you need your mask." I'm like, "Oh crap." Went back to my car. Didn't argue. I mean, they're right. All right. Went back to my car, grabbed my mask, put it on, walked in, ordered my burger, sat down, took my mask off, ate it, had a good time. It was great. But I mean, like, I don't know when this became a political thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like almost to be defiant of the conspiracy theory that this is not really, like I tell you, if you listen to the July 11 meeting of the Board of Supervisors, these people think it's conspiracy against them, and that this is nothing more than the flu, and we're being all manipulated. And the mask is kind of the symbol of that, of the government telling us what to do.
Maybe that's it. Maybe at the end of the day, it's just people do not want the government to tell them what to do. You know, that might be the crutch of it, because it's funny because you see all these things like, oh, if you wear a mask, it makes you more sick. I mean, Joe, you and I, we both ran medical calls where we were wearing masks for a long time, right? You know, I mean, especially like long transportation, stuff like this, where you're taking, and you have to have a mask on for the patient safety, not necessarily our safety, or sometimes our safety, right, for tuberculosis and whatnot. And I'm just like, I never remembered anything coming through my training. I mean, Jesus, I started doing medical stuff in 1989, 30 something years. And this is the first time I've ever seen anything that says, if you wear a mask, it's going to make you sick. That's like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm confused about it. Whether you don't want to wear the mask or not, right? I'm not, I'm not arguing that. But my point is like some of the BS stuff that's coming out of saying why they shouldn't wear masks is just that, you know, there's no science behind it, right? You know, so I'm really kind of confused about that.
So let's be clear that the governor has now said that you must wear a mask at all times, except in certain situations, which are pretty small. As soon as you step out of the house, you should be wearing it.
Yeah. Well, you know, so this news piece just came across the desk where a woman develops coronavirus a second time after getting the all clear, and that's something that I think that we should talk about a little bit too, is that they don't think that this is, they be the scientists when I say they think that this is one of those things where you've gotten it once and you can't get it again. I mean, it's not like you get antibodies against it.
There is no cure.
Well, I mean, if you think about the flu A, you can get the flu A multiple times. It's not like you get the flu A once, you're never going to get the flu again, So, yeah. Well, I'm going to say one last thing about COVID, and then I'll let you kind of finish it off, and then we'll go into some other cool headlines that are coming across. The studies that we've done in the past, specifically epidemiology studies, and the history that we have with flu A, also known as the Spanish flu or the 1918 flu, still around, right? 100 and something years later. So the idea here is that COVID, we're going to live with it forever, right? And maybe we can come up with a vaccine, maybe not. This might be seasonal. The difference between the COVID issues and the flu issues that we have is that COVID is highly contagious. Now we might come across and start having like what happened in 1918 flu, right? Is that the bodies get used to it. There's ability to fight it off a little bit better. And not that they were cured from it, but it just doesn't become as bad unless you have some underlying conditions, kind of like what's going on, right? So I think it's something that we're going to just have to live with for the rest of our lives. It's not going to go away. If you think about SARS and MERS and H1N1, they all exist out there still. They're not just gone. We just don't talk about them a lot. They just didn't spread as big. But this is one of these diseases that we're going to have to think about for a long time. And, maybe at some point, I don't know when, that we could, maybe the mask will come off again. But I think our hygiene issues are going to have to change. I've seen people like, it's gross. You go to the bathroom and there's people in there going to the bathroom and they come out and they just go out. They don't wash their hands. It's disgusting. Right. Maybe, that we can start shaming people. Hate the idea of shaming people. It bothers me, but at least tell them, hey, dude, wash your hands before you go back out there. Because if you think about things, hepatitis that's out there, think about all those things that are being spread through not washing your hands, simply just doing that and simply taking precautions. So why is it a bad thing? I don't understand. Regardless if you agree with it or not, why are you doing those simple steps? If you think COVID's a big conspiracy, why not just take those simple steps and keep good hygiene? And I think we'll be all right.
You what to do again.
Yeah.
You're telling me what to do. I'm sorry.
That's what I kind of ranted here for a little bit, way off topic what we wanted to talk about, but I think it's important to discuss it. Joe, what do you think we should do going into the future about COVID outside of masks?
Gosh, I'm just amazed. We're I think I have COVID fatigued. It's just like it's a drudgery, and I think a lot of people are my boys. They're like, oh, we're depressed. COVID. Thank God they have a pool to play in, but in the future, everything like our city councilman mentioned. A lot of things are going to change. Traffic patterns are going to change. The way we eat is going to change. And it's it might be for the good. It might make us really look at what's really important and really streamline that. It might be even more cost effective the way we're going to live in the future.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Speaking of the future, what about the
elections?
Yep.
Newsom, he struck again. He struck again with another law. It just got passed. November, we're going to be voting by mail-in ballots. Everybody's going to get one. The interesting thing is, Newsom is citing health risks from large groups gatherings and polling places, but yet in this article in the Whittier Daily News, it says that in-person polling places will remain available for those who might need them. This is which is interesting. We were talking about this before. The spread of the mail-in vote has had a reaction to potential health risks from the virus becoming a point of conflict between Democrats and Republicans nationwide. President Donald Trump has been among the most skeptics, saying that a lot of people cheat with mail-in voting. Now, the vote was passed in the Assembly 68-5, and the 5 were Republicans. So it's just interesting how we're trying to make it safe for people to vote. I mean, did you see in Georgia the lines and lines and lines and lines of people trying to vote? It was crazy, unorganized. This is the safest, smartest way to vote. We should be doing it online, actually, and saving even more money. But there's so many accusations on the Republican side of the potential of our elections being taken over. I find it ironic that Donald Trump complained about mailing in his ballot or mailing in ballots in general, and he mailed in his ballot. So it's sad, but something that we need to do.
Absentee ballots have been around, or mail-in ballots, if you will, have been around for a long time. You're going on vacation or whatever. You can you can request it before. I've been absentee or mail-in voting for a long time. Now I did in the military. Now, the thing, the military presidential election came across, and I didn't get my ballot until after like a week until after the election was over. So my vote wasn't even tabulated. It didn't make a difference. So it was funny. I went through it and I voted anyway, but I just went through because I said, okay, I'll vote for all the winners. And I just voted. So that way I was 100% correct on my prediction of who would win.
Just that I forgot to tell you, there's another change, another current law, mail ballots that have been postmarked by election day can arrive up to 3 days after the election and still be counted. For the November election, the bill would extend that window to 17 days, 2 weeks later from the current 3 days.
That's really going to screw it. We're never going to know who won.
So if you want a potential for election fraud, that's a lot of time for things just to kind of linger around with no pressure to tally these votes, to get them in on time, to get them out in a timely manner.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed reservations on the way they want to do this. There is potential for fraud, right? I mean, if you think about this, if you have like my dad, for instance, he's passed away now, but he had dementia, right? And I could register him to vote, and when he comes in, I could vote the way I want to vote because he wouldn't even know. You know what I mean? So I could see things like that going on. I potentially could you have people who are non eligible for voting this way? I don't know how that would work.
They did say that inactive voters would not be getting a ballot. The Republicans, I guess, in their fight for the bill, made sure that none of these ballots would be sent to inactive people that had been using people that had not elected chose to vote before would not be getting a ballot.
Well, and that this goes back to the whole ballot harvesting controversy or ideas that were out there, is that Democrat workers in Orange County were going door to door to Democrat voters, right, and saying, "Hey, we'll take your absentee ballot for you," right? Mostly older people, and in some cases they're saying, and again, this is from the Orange County Register, we're saying that the complaint was some of these ballots weren't filled out yet and sealed. that the older people were just handing the non-filled out ballot to the worker, and then the worker was filling out the ballot for them. And I mean, I don't know. Again, this is Orange County Register, and whether or not that occurred, was it be likely that that person who was already registered as a Democrat would have voted Democrat? Probably, if that's the case. But the idea, though, is there room for fraud? And then, but the other side of it, though, is, does this mean the ground game has to change for both parties or any party, right? As a Libertarian Party, could they start going out and doing door-to-door ballot harvesting? And would we see a increase? Because a lot of independents out there, right? A lot of independent people are leaving both parties pretty quickly. A lot of it. So could you see like a third party candidate going, finding all the independent voters, knock on their door and saying, hey, have you voted yet? And then if not, vote for me or vote for my guy, and helping this person, I put in helping in quotes, fill out their ballot in the way that they see. It's supposed to be illegal, but
Yeah.
I mean, things have gone. So I can see where the Republicans are concerned about some of the fraud potential out of that. But the question is what's the likelihood? I mean, like I said, the ground game for sure is going to have to change for everybody. But anyway, hey, we're getting close to the end. We're kind of going overtime a little bit here, and do appreciate the conversation, but we probably should start wrapping this up, because next week we're going to be having some interesting guests coming on board, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
big deal, big deal.
yep. So we'll announce that here shortly. Keep in touch.
We're not going to tell you right now. It's a big secret.
Well, I don't know how much of a secret it is.
Go ahead and tell them, Todd.
We're going to have
the first name.
Say again?
Just tell them the first name.
The first name is Spike.
There you go. That's all you need to know. That's all you need.
We're going to have Spike coming on the show.
Not what you think.
So anyway, Joe, do you have any last things you'd like to say to the people?
I think I just said it. Spike.
I like it a lot. So anyway, life is good. Life is great. I'm happy to be here in Orange County. I'm happy to have these conversations with you, buddy. And
Likewise.
so hopefully we can get. Oh wait, we got some live comments. One of the guys says the hardest part of my mail-in vote is something could raise the. Yeah, it's true, Mike. Something could change in the last few days, or in some cases, we've had people who died, right? Or people who and he won, right? That guy in Nevada, he died and he won the election anyway. Or people drop off the ballot, right? Especially in primaries, you see this all the time. So anyway, all right, Maestro, let's wrap it up.